One. Welcome back, everybody, and this is The Big Show. Welcome to the Virtual Design Master Season 4 Grand Finale. You know, while it's sort of bittersweet to come to an end, I can tell you that a lot of the faces are smiling on the Hangout today because they're glad to be done. Oh, we've got some. We've got some background noise. There we go. This year, of course, we've had an amazing ride. We've had a lot of very interesting designs. We've had a lot of difficult challenges. We've had a lot of new faces. It's an important part of the community. We've also got some very familiar faces. And of course, we're going to kind of launch by introducing and reintroducing the folks online before we get started with the challenging part, which is the defense itself. Of course, we wouldn't be able to do anything without our sponsors, so we would like to thank our two grand prize sponsors this year, which include VM Turbo, who are offered the $1,000 prize towards our first place winner, VMUG, who have also put together a $1,000 prize pack, which is going to be split between first and second place. We have Jason Langer, who has provided a $400 prize for our third place winner. We have Timothy Patterson, who is joining us today on the final episode to help to judge. Timothy's offered a $200 AWS credit as well as a mentoring package towards the AWS Solutions Architect Professional exam, which is very cool of him, so thank you, Timothy. That's going to go, we're going to call that one Timothy's Choice, so we're going to give him the opportunity to choose where he thinks that deserves to be. We'd like to, of course, thank Stephen Viljoen, who is last year's Virtual Design Master. He offered a Pluralsight subscription, as well as something fun he describes, for those who are spouses, partners, and roommates for our Virtual Design Masters. They know it's a lot of work, and so we're going to make sure that they get a little bit of a gift as well. Our friends at Kudzo, a very cool new social platform that was born from community, are offering also a $250 Amazon gift card that has been allocated towards an overall prize. James Brown offered our Judge's Choice, which was a $150 Amazon gift card, which went to Karina Wagnerova in our very first episode. Brian Sir offered an eight copies of his Architecting EUC Solutions, which went out to the folks that survived right through to the second last challenge. And of course, we also have an additional community member that donated another $250 Amazon gift card. So we can say, without a doubt, that this community has been very generous with time, with money, and just with advice, help, and all the great things that back a good community. Now, without further ado, I also want to turn it over. Melissa, if you want to talk about our remaining competitors and, of course, reintroduce our judges.
Of course. First of all, let's start with our judges, because we wouldn't have a competition without them. They take time out of their busy days and schedules to actually pour through our contestant submissions and prepare defense questions for them. So judges, one by one, I'm going to go through, and if you could give yourselves a quick intro to our audience, just in case they're tuning in for the first time. Let's start with Timothy Patterson, a previous Virtual Design Master.
Hey, everybody. Yep, I'm Timothy Patterson. Virtual Design Master was a godsend for me. I took part in Season 2. It really helped launch my career. I was on the VMware track hardcore, and now I find myself actually employed by Amazon. Did a complete 180 in my career, and I think a lot of it has to do with the core concepts that I learned through this program. So it's really cool to be a part of this and continue to be a part of the community.
Thanks, Timothy. And next we have Renee. You can find him at vcdx133.com.
Hello, my name's Renee. So I'm a Chief Architect at Round Tower Technologies, and I blog at vcdx133.com. Yep, that's me. Thanks.
Thanks, Renee. And now our security expert. Our contestants have learned some harsh lessons in security this season. Edward, if you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Edward Holitke. I'm a technologist, author, analyst, architect, and I concentrate on all things virtual, cloud, and container, and with a focus somewhat on security, I would say.
Thanks, Edward. And last but certainly not least, Brian Kirsch has been with us since the very beginning and is our resident VMUG supporter.
Thank you, Melissa. Yes, I'm an instructor over at Milwaukee Area Technical College. Do a lot of teaching VMware, EMC, and a little bit of Windows. And I do quite a bit with the VMUG organization, and actually a little bit with Amazon now. Thank you.
I see Virtual Design Master, our Amazon, has trickled into your expertise as well now, Brian.
Yes, it has.
So you'll hear more for our competitors. I'm going to let them relax and get ready, and I'm just going to introduce them real quick. We have Paul, who's Explore VM. We have Karina, who I'm not going to try to say her Twitter handle because it has underscores in it, but she is our NSX queen of the season, I have to say. And finally, we have Gareth. So you're going to be hearing more from these three, their final defenses. Hopefully the judges will make them sweat a little bit more this episode since it is the last one.
And with that, Angelo, if you want to get to the fun part, you know, we've come a long way, and it's time to get down to business.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. This is real exciting. We're going to start with Gareth tonight. How are you feeling?
Very nervous, but it's worth it.
I noticed a lot of the discussions on the back channel I felt like it kind of went silent. So I figured you guys were working really, really hard, or were just sleeping the whole time. So that was an observation that was very interesting. But so with that, you're going to have 15 seconds to defend your design. Just kidding, just kidding. Look at Paul. I saw Paul's face there. It's like, what? 15 seconds? I can't even say my name in 15 seconds. But no, it's all good. So Gareth, you have 60 seconds to defend your design starting now.
So my design, originally I had the perfect plan. I was going to take everything out of our VPN, keeping things very secure to keep, you know, some of the previous challenges we had at mind. Not everything quite worked to plan. It's a week of very much learning new cloud technology with a few hiccups in the road, which tripped me off a lot, and learning Puppet. It was all very, very interesting, and I was hoping to have got everything connected, but I didn't quite get to the final hurdle. But I think, you know, I got the majority of the way there, with hopefully a few more tweaks to go. And I think I've just about run out of time.
Good, great. 43 seconds, right on track. Might I say, very focused in the explanation today, very focused. Just an observation. So with that, Brian, any comments or questions for Gareth?
With your AWS, you had a little bit of trouble with the CLI.
Yeah, it's the first time, I'll be honest with you, I've really used AWS in anger. I've set it up once or twice, dare I say, let our developers loose with it, and that's been it. I just hadn't really used it that much. I just wish I had a bit more time to play with the CLI.
You should take advantage of CLI throughout, and then it's like you stop.
Yeah, it just become one of those things where I very much took on Renee's comment saying don't get distracted by too many things, so I tried focusing on a few scripting technologies that I felt comfortable with, but I started to explore it. If I had time, I would have loved to, you know, do the VMs via a script and also do some of the DNSing via a script. And within my document, I did reference a few articles where I would have started to steal and tweak code from. I just unfortunately didn't get time to implement that, which was a bit of a shame.
So it would have gave your AWS instances a nice level of consistency if you could have scripted that out.
It really would have, and you know, one of the things that I found in the brief that wasn't really mentioned is a lack of the use of Puppet. We only really were told to deploy it on 2 VMs, and once I got into the swing of Puppet, I really started to love it, and it gave me that consistency throughout the environment. Then I found that I shot myself in the foot by having a firewall. It's great for some things, but then got in the way for others. But, you know, if I had a bit more time to really plan out, you know, the site file for Puppet, I really think it would have had a consistent approach all around. I'd have had the scripts talking to one another, and it would have, you know, looked a lot different given a bit more time, really.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Brian.
Mhm.
Edward, any comments or questions? And you're on mute.
Sorry about that. He said the firewall got in the way.
Yeah, I said actually it was doing its job.
It didn't get in the way then, it did its job.
It did its job. It was just unfortunate at the 11th hour when I was trying to get everything to connect. It didn't quite want to play ball with me. But again, it proved that it was doing what it was supposed to do. It was just a shame I couldn't have a firewall in each instance, channel everything from there, watch the logs. Because the one thing I found about the challenge, what really shocked me is cloud containers are great, but scare me a lot because you're putting stuff publicly available on the internet. Apart from AWS, where you can make private instances, a challenge comes into how do you connect to those private instances. Things were very, very open, and that's why the very first thing I did was stick a firewall in the bare metal cloud infrastructure, because putting everything on the web scared me to bits.
It should.
I wouldn't even do it in a lab. I wouldn't do it in production, so why would I do it in a competition?
Well, the big thing is that you can do it, but you do know you can control your firewalls with Puppet.
Yeah, I can't quite figure out how to do that with so far. So I tried logging a support ticket, but there wasn't really much traction on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's there. How do you secure? Well, you had a firewall, and you talked about a VPN.
Mm-hmm.
What else in your design did you need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability? That wasn't said, because those are the only things I saw.
Sorry, that
in your architecture or design that you were thinking about putting together as a prototype, how would you ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability in your environment outside of using a firewall and a VPN, which is just the tip of the iceberg?
some of the other things that I would have wanted to use is certificates. I'd never started really getting into certificates between the VMs, because that would have given me some authenticity and some keys between the VMs. Again, while I was trying to build an environment, I avoided using them because I wanted to make sure things were communicating first before I introduced other factors. Again, Puppet is brilliant, but you kind of self-sign it out the box, which doesn't really give it any authenticity. You know, receiving clients don't really trust it until you sign the certificate. So, you know, as you said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The other thing is elastic IPs in the AWS world. Do you start securing everything down via IP? So you start making things, authenticating things via IP and a certificate, but when you start trashing VMs, bringing them back up, they come back up with another IP, and that puts another spin in the mix. So
here's something to think about with certificates. Do you know how many known attacks there are against SSL today?
I know there's quite a lot. I don't know the exact number. There is a lot, because Heartbleed was a really common thing there. I know that was a painful day for me, installing about 200 certificates across several servers in the space of a few hours once we got hit by the Heartbleed bug. You know, it's another thing to consider, which I never really put in my document because I knew it was there. I just didn't have time to really fully start digging into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Well, one final question. I'm going to ask this of everybody. In your architecture, there was no mention, or in your design, there was absolutely no mention of how you would protect the management network for all the clouds. How would you do that?
I started to look at two-factor authentication without name dropping. If anyone wants to try one, Duo Security seemed quite good because it was free for 10 users. And it supports Radius and many other things, but again, I just didn't get time to squeeze it into my design because I wasn't trying to get distracted.
Okay, so you planned on using 2FA. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Edward. Always interesting to see the other competitors' body language when someone's answering. you can kind of observe with the little smile on their faces, either they know what Gareth has been through, or it's like, well, that guy's out in left field, he's not going to go anywhere. So very interesting to see the smiles and body language. So great. Renee, any comments or questions?
Yes. Yeah. So first thing is you did a good job with your documentation, Gareth. I thought also that you took my advice and kept your focus. So good work there.
Thank you.
Your GitHub repository was the most complete out of the 3 contestants, so congrats on that. Your security implementation was an interesting expose on security versus usability. So what I did was I gave each of the candidates 60 minutes for me to assess all of the documentation as well as the lab infrastructure. And I'm on OS 10, so I'm a Mac user, and unfortunately KeyPass, I couldn't get it to work on my Mac, right? So unfortunately I did not get to look at your lab work, right? So that was unfortunate because I would have liked to have gone through it.
I should shoot myself in the foot because I'm a Mac admin. I actually had my other device next to me.
But I did appreciate that you actually thought of how users would access your security solution, right? So you had a document for that. That was good. Just unfortunately didn't work for me. So anyway. All right, so my question is, because we've spent quite a bit of time here, can you tell me how you managed your public and private IP addressing between the clouds and how you allowed everything to communicate?
So, as you can probably see from my original design, I was going to hope to have a VPN connection between all of the sites, and I was going to assign private IP ranges to each site, and then I was going to allow each public cloud, apart from bare metal cloud, where I'd already been given 5 public IPs, I was going to start then getting either elastic IPs or flexible IPs from each of the cloud containers and direct them to a VM. And I was going to try and then leverage some of the auto load balancing DNS within AWS and Route 53 to start directing my traffic in the relevant places.
Right.
I do wish I managed to get around to an IP addressing spreadsheet to include in my documentation, but that is the love and hate of the cloud, is as you destroy and reapply containers, unless you pay for those additional IPs, they change every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of an eye-opener to me. That's, I think, one of the key things where it said, please use fully qualified domain names. We're all guilty of hard-coding IPs, and again, it's made me appreciate more now using fully qualified domain names as and where possible.
Right. So tell me, what happens if you connect private IP address spaces directly to the internet? What's the impact? What happens?
It doesn't work. It doesn't route.
Yep. So how do you mitigate that? How do you make that work? What are some of the mechanisms?
So that's where I was using, the VPNs.
Right. So VPN is one. What's another one?
You can use subdomains as well, can't you, to kind of hide away those IPs, or point-to-point links.
You mean subdomains from DNS? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Because that's just DNS address space. Yeah. That's not IPs.
So
natting. Natting is the other one.
Yeah.
Right, and you can NAT with load balancers as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Renee. Gareth, you're off the hot seat. Well done. Congratulations. And don't drop off. Stay on. And watch the other competitors. Great. Thanks.
Good luck, guys.
Good stuff. Karina.
Yes. Hello.
How are you? How are you doing?
Tired, but good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yours is a little unique. I thought maybe we would just skip the defense and go right straight to the NSX questions.
Let's do it.
But seriously, you have 60 seconds to explain or defend your design starting now.
Okay. So what I did, I'll start from the application. For database, I've decided to use MariaDB with the Galera cluster, which unfortunately I wasn't able to get fully working due to connection between the sites, but the cluster was actually implemented. and the database was created. And for application, I was using Apache, and then I did a bit of code in PHP to do my website and using MySQLi to basically query the data from the database. Yeah, all the three clouds, what I have tried to do was, yes, NSX at least. Well, I tried to do some part with that. And yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Katerina. Before I send it over to Brian, I want to give Timothy a minute. I skipped over Timothy. I want to give Timothy a minute or two just to quickly comment on Gareth's design.
Oh, Gareth gets to hop back on the hot seat.
Surprise, Gareth! You thought you were done.
Mr. Edwards, I'm not sure exactly 100% what your background is. It sounds like this is your first foray into AWS, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I've deployed it to our developers and then kind of let them loose on it before.
Sure.
And now playing with it, it's really made me realize actually how open it is and whoa, what did I do that for?
Okay. Nope, that's fair. I mean, we all start at ground zero at some point in our lives. What I want to do is twofold. I want to first commend you for your use of the AWS VPN features within your original design. That shows that you did a little bit of research on the platform. You're taking advantage of some of the cloud-native functionality, the managed pieces for you. That's one of the main advantages of using a service like AWS. But what I want to do is put you on the hot seat regarding the very last sections within your document. What would you have done different if you had more time, specifically with respect to some of these different cloud providers, not just AWS, but what would you have done differently had you had more time?
So the one thing I would have probably done differently is I would have loved to funnel everything via my HQ. In some respects, that might sound a little strange, but any internal traffic I would have wanted monitored by my firewall, if not been able to implement a firewall at each cloud site. As we well know in our previous submissions, we had an internal attacker, and with all these cloud sites, you lose that visibility of management information by putting it in the cloud. They manage your network, they manage your IPs, they manage all the interconnectivity. You lose that bit of information. So for me, not having your eyes and ears on the ground and monitoring your own network, it kind of made me a bit worried in ways. I've been very much used to controlling my network in the past. So, I love the fact the AWS feature was in there. I could have deployed a Sophos VM, I believe, when I did a bit more research, but I thought, what's the point in sacrificing a VM if I can use the VPN connector and get it to behave the way I want? And I learned really harsh lesson after spending 2 days trying to get DigitalOcean to work. They don't mention it anywhere, but you can't actually talk between VMs outside of a network. They do some kind of strange natting between the VMs, which doesn't allow any non-IP of their network to talk to other containers. So the only way I could have got around that was actually installing a VPN client to every container I deploy, which would have caused a lot of overhead, I think.
Sure. So you've addressed the security piece. My very last question is, what would you have done differently with deployment of the actual VMs within the different cloud providers?
That's a good question. I would have loved to script it all to keep it consistent. And I would have loved to have more than one instance of Puppet. That was one thing that I found quite interesting straight away. Was I've got a single point of failure. I've only got one version of Puppet. And how do I make these VMs consistent? The one thing, what would have been interesting is if I could have had a template within VMware that I could deploy to all the cloud instances. I know I could have done it with AWS. I couldn't quite get it working. But it would have been interesting if I could have got the same adoption within, could you have a connector within vCenter for DigitalOcean? You could pipe through your VM, and you could then, again, have a runbook that runs on that that kept everything consistent.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Timothy. Katerina, you're back in the hot seat.
Good luck, Kat.
Brian, comments or questions?
Yeah. Great design. A lot of kudos for that. But I got a question for you. Humanity Link's a critical software, and you've designed a system, you've architected a system that has built-in outages. Specifically, you're at about 99% uptime, roughly. 99.85. Because you have a Windows domain controller that you have automatic updates on, forcing a reboot in a production system. So, your logic behind that?
Yeah, initially I wanted to have 2 domain controllers, but unfortunately I failed to do that because I wasn't able to deploy a Windows image on DigitalOcean. I did not have any extra resources on AWS, so I ended up with 1 DC, and I needed to get it patched. So I wasn't really able to overcome that obstacle. Because the option was either not to patch the domain controller, or I was thinking maybe the other option would be to have 2 domain controllers, but again running on 1 host, but at least they would be available in case one is being patched. The other one would be available.
Now, some of the security folks are going to hate me for saying this, but sometimes not patching is an actual solution for certain applications that can't afford to go down, or if you can't have that outage. So that's something to definitely consider. I know Edward's going to hate me for it, but
I almost saw everyone smile, Brian, when you said that. Almost everyone smiled.
it's a reality.
But there's a solution.
It does happen.
But there's a solution to that problem.
Critical application.
There's a solution to that problem.
There's always a solution if you have money and resources. But as we found out, so that's one of your concerns with adding that Windows element in there. Now, the other thing you could have did, and I'm kind of surprised, is how come you didn't look at core?
Yes, I mean that was one of the options, but I was also using my DC as my management station to do all of the work out of, to have a better connection. So yeah, that was the reason. Also for having a full-blown Windows.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. I'm going to go over to Timothy. Questions or comments?
Sure. Karina, don't let these guys pick on you too much. There's always options given the constraints. I mean, running a website on a domain controller, running Samba, but hey, you know what? I liked your design through and through. The documentation was awesome. What was the most challenging piece for you as you stepped through this?
Sorry, my connection just froze. Could you please repeat the question?
Sure, no problem. What was the most challenging piece for you as you stepped through this design?
Networking, everything related to networking, connecting the clouds in between, because I just don't have the experience. I was trying the best I could with that. So yeah, I would say that was the most difficult part. Also, I had no experience before with either AWS or DigitalOcean. So I'm not quite sure what the possibilities there were. I was trying to look through that. But yeah, definitely that was my biggest pain point that I spent too much time on.
Okay. Is there anything you could have done to perhaps help automate the deployment of your network solution across the multiple cloud providers?
That's a very good question. I'm not quite sure really how that could be achieved.
Okay. No, that's fair. I mean, it's called a hot seat for a reason. We're supposed to make you squirm a little.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Good. Thanks, Timothy. Renee, comments or questions?
Yep. So I went through your documentation. Very good, as usual. Very high standard. I like the fact that you took your theoretical NSX knowledge and actually implemented it. That was good to see. And I like the fact that you deployed an ESG and terminated your private IP address space and also your public address space. That was good as well. Can you tell me about how you would have used certain features of NSX to enhance the security of your design?
Okay. So yes, what I did or tried to do, so I have deployed a gateway services, so NSX Edge, because I needed that for netting to create the source and destination nets.
Yep.
The features I did not really use, and well, the firewall, I have to admit, I had to set it to allow everything because I was having then issues with communication between the hosts. So ideally, I would like to limit this traffic only to the certain port. So allow only the services that are needed for particular VMs. So firewalls would be definitely one that I would use. I was looking also, I was trying to maybe do more with NSX, but I just ran out of time to do more.
So what were some of the features of the ESG that you're aware of but you didn't use?
Okay, so there was netting that I used, firewalling. There was also logical router, I think.
Logical switches.
Oh, sorry, logical switch.
And logical routers. Yeah.
Yeah, that I did not really get into.
What about the VPN functionality of NSX?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was also this, but I wasn't quite sure how to implement that.
Right.
So I tried to go. I really tried to at least use it, and I've tried to select the things that I was somehow able to get working.
Right. And if you were to use VPNs from a functional perspective, what would it have looked like between the three clouds that you had?
Yeah, this was actually originally I thought that would be a solution, but unfortunately I do not really have the knowledge to know how to implement this. So the VPNs between the three clouds.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Renee. Edward, comments, questions?
Yes. I liked your physical design that you put together. That was very, very nice. Your conceptual design, I didn't understand how security fit into it. So I was looking at the physical design and noticed that you put NSX as an edge, but only in 1/3 of your whole design. Where were you going to place security in the other parts of it? In the other components. Just talk theoretical, don't talk what you did.
Okay. So as mentioned before, I wanted to, and that is something I did not do, was to limit the traffic only to allow certain ports, and that would be done on all three public clouds that we had. What I also had was, or tried to do, was to, with my AD, do role-based setup.
I think. There we go. You're back.
So we heard role-based setup. Okay. What else were you thinking about doing from inside the clouds? Let's ignore RBAC and things like that. That's understood. But what about other things that are actually in the clouds? DigitalOcean and.
Okay. So for example, for AWS, I wanted to create more security zones. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to that point, but I wanted to basically separate the traffic because I had there my web server and also my database server. So both have different needs, different services running on them. So I wanted to have that separate on separate security zones. And I think that would be also possible on DigitalOcean.
Okay.
Separate it.
How are you going to control and protect the management layers of your cloud services? In other words, AWS and DigitalOcean and bare metal cloud.
Okay, so for I actually didn't want to go with certificates, but I would normally I would use the SSH keys, which is something that I have actually used for myself, but I have enabled then the logins on all of the instances to be able to provide a password, because I do not really want to share the SSH keys. So that would be one thing that I would do differently if this would be only for myself. Yeah.
Okay. And I have one final question: is that you mentioned in your design that you were going to use a rsync to replicate to keep your MySQL database in sync. What is the recovery point? What is the capability of that? How soon would it be? The data would be there across the board.
So actually, that was.
Is it continuous or is it staged? What?
Okay, so that was actually one of the reasons why I've decided to go with Galera cluster, because it provides the possibility of doing synchronous replication. So the data would be replicated through all of the 3 databases across all of the clouds, and also it provides the possibility for write and read as well to any location. So
but you
everything is
use
synchronous.
rsync, so which one is it?
That would be the synchronous replication.
Okay. Rsync is set on a time schedule. It's not actually set instantaneous. If you were using replication inside of MySQL that's actually baked into it, it would be near CDP. But rsync, you have to time it somehow and stick it in cron, so you can't run it all the time.
Okay, then I must have misunderstood that, because I was using the default setting for, or was trying to use the default settings for what would be the synchronous replication.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Edward. Katerina, great job. You're off the hot seat. You can relax now. Paul, how are you?
I am doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. I've just been kind of observing your mannerisms throughout the throughout the competition here, and especially today. And it's I could just imagine what's going through your mind at this time.
It's a blessing and a curse to go last. That's for sure.
Right. So okay. So with that, let's go to Brian. Any comments or questions? You're on mute, Brian.
Do you want to defend first?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hey, geez, you know what? Sorry, I got distracted because I just got a message here that asked, did we skip Timothy again? And no, we didn't. We had him answer second. So that's sorry about the slight distraction there.
Were you trying to give Paul a free pass or something? That's
well,
not right.
You know, Paul is. Yes, I was trying to give Paul a free pass. Yes.
Give him a little bit of free space there.
Getting forgetful in your old age, aren't you, Angelo? Eh?
Yeah. Okay, Paul, you have 60 seconds to defend your design starting now.
All right. Well, so this project consisted of AWS, DigitalOcean, Puppet, and Linux, all of which I'm brand new to. So this was a big learning experience. Last challenge, I focused on Ansible instead of Puppet, and then we used Puppet this time. Whatever. So I guess long story short, my design, what I wanted to do was to do the web servers on AWS, the databases on DigitalOcean, push out replication of these services from the physical box. And then I also, in the DigitalOcean, there's 4 nodes. I had 2 production and 2 standby, one on, with nodes on opposite coasts in case something happened. Let's see what else. There was it's the scripting part, trying to script the vCenter server appliance as was outlined by the document. That cost me a lot of time. I guess I took a page from Gareth and really got focused on that, and that ate up a big chunk of my time on this project.
All right, you're over your 60 seconds. Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Yeah. Brian, comments or questions?
So Paul, you got some really nice steps in, but it seems like you hit a wall when you went to some of this higher end scripting. So I'm not going to beat you up on it, but I am going to ask you, what's the lesson learned here?
Virtual Design Master, their greatest asset is time. I just did not have the time to learn some of this scripting, like Puppet in particular, that I kind of flip-flop back and forth between, okay, well, let's get this portion done. Well, I forgot about the other portion. Let's jump on that. And unfortunately, the Puppet aspect really fell on that back burner.
What about Linux?
Linux is something professionally I just haven't had to use much. So I was trying to pick it up as I was going through this challenge.
because you're not the only competitor that's had their struggle with Linux.
Yes.
So the question's going to be, what do you take away from it?
I mean, it's out there. It's something I absolutely need to know. I know more about it now than I did at the start of this competition. And I kind of like spend my life constantly learning, and this is one of those things that, well, it looks like I got to learn more Linux. I'm certainly learning more scripting. Just keep learning. Find where your weaknesses are and try to build them up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Timothy, comments or questions?
Sure. You mentioned that your web servers are both living within AWS. I also see you had one within your ESXi farm, correct?
Yep, the design was one web and database on the ESX, and then replicated out to Amazon and DigitalOcean.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your decisions around the AWS availability? Specifically, I'm noticing that it looks like both of your web servers are in the same availability zone within the same region.
Yeah, that's something I kind of overlooked when I was building the VMs, just because it was my first time clicking through and working with AWS. I definitely keyed on that on the DigitalOcean aspect, where I had them in different data centers throughout the offering. And I was just like, all right, do I double back, blow away the AWS web servers, and then put them in different availability groups, or just kind of go with it at this point? And again, time, I just kind of left it there.
Yep. So if you had a chance to do it over again, what would you do differently, specifically within the AWS in the regional and availability zone design from a conceptual standpoint?
Oh, I'd like them split up between either like regions or like even coasts, like I did with the DigitalOcean deployment. It's just,
sure.
If we had, oh, go ahead.
Well, assuming that, what operational challenges would that bring about?
The first thing that comes to mind would be any kind of latency site to site from our main physical location to our cloud environments. That's the big one that comes to mind first.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Timothy. Renee, any comments or questions?
Yep. So, Paul, you had a very solid performance, I think. You should be proud of it.
Thank you.
So I went through your documentation and your environment, so you built everything, you got as much working as you could, so kudos for that. I was having a look at your vSphere design. Can you just tell me about how you set up the virtual networking within vSphere?
As it stands, there's just a single switch with a VM network and a management network. I didn't, again, time-wise, I didn't dive back into that because I started looking at other aspects.
How many port groups did you have?
We've got the two, the VM kernel and the management network, or the VM network.
You had one. It's one.
One. Okay.
Yeah. So how many networks did you have communicating over that one port group?
That would have been everything.
Yeah. So with the IP schema that you had, what types of IPs were you using?
Honestly, the internal, the private IP, I'm not certain what it was spitting out. It was just giving me DNS or DHCP from the bare metal cloud environment.
Right. So with publishing your application on the internet, what impact did that have? Using a private IP address space.
Oh, there was a public IP on. Oh wait, no, there wasn't. Ha, you got me. Yeah, there was not a. I did not get public networking set up on the web server. It wouldn't route. It wouldn't go anywhere. There'd be.
Yeah.
It couldn't communicate.
Because you populated Route 53 with private IPs, so you would have been trying to resolve those DNS addresses, and it wasn't working. So, do you know why?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a private network. It's not gonna do anything. Yeah.
looking at the password security solution that you used, of the three competitors, I think you had the most usable solution. Yes. So
Thank
you
you.
have Excel spreadsheet with a password. Karina, she just had clear text, so that wasn't so good. But I think you had the best blend. So yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Edward, comments or questions?
Yes. Let's think outside of what you did, what you prototyped, to what you intended. How would you have approached this challenge differently, knowing that you did not have yourself the skills to put it together? What would you have done differently?
Outside of a personal competition, this would have been something I would have reached out to other resources. I would have sought an expert on, say, Puppet, a Linux expert, worked with them, show me what I've got to do. Let's get this set up. A security expert, just a networking expert. Let's make this work.
Okay. Good. How would your documentation have changed?
It didn't have all the pieces of the solution. There was it's kind of like the core outline. I would have put more content, a little bit more details behind some of the solutions I would have used for, say, like replicating the databases, replicating the web services. There would be more information in there on some of the security practices that would have and should have been put in place.
Okay. And this is really a comment for everybody. One of the best things you can do in a design is show your work. If you create a list of this is what I need to do, make it an appendix and show your work. It's kind of like a math problem, a math proof. You don't show your work, we have no idea how you got there. So you said you were drawing. I mean, I was following the whole Twitter conversation in the back channel. You guys were saying you were drawing on things. Where are those drawings? Right? Where's the list that you could have made up of the things you did not know? Those are things that would have been invaluable to have from anybody so that we know where the weaknesses are in a design, know where we could get you help, or you could get help when you're doing this in real life. Always show your work. The final question I have is, knowing what you now know, how can you determine who did what, when, where, and how in the management interfaces of the clouds? Do you know any tools that would have helped you do that?
I didn't really get to dive too much into the cloud aspect. That's something I'm looking forward to picking up more on, but nothing comes to mind off the top of my head.
Okay. For Amazon, there's CloudTrails, DigitalOcean. You would have to put a CASB in front of it. Cloud Access Security Broker. Same thing for Bare Metal Cloud, or you could use something like HighTrust in front of your ESXi instance. Some things to think about. All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Edward. Thanks, Paul. Good job. Let's just take a deep breath. This is it, folks. Final episode. We're going to. I'm going to hand it over to Melissa, and she will announce the third place winner of Virtual Design Master Season 4. I'm talking really slow just to add some dramatic effect to it.
Angelo, I had a whole thing planned where I was just going to drag it out, but no, you had to tell them I was going to announce.
It wasn't in the
place
script.
Winner.
It wasn't in the script.
I had this whole thing planned and all this
I'm
other
sorry.
stuff to make you guys sweat it out. And I was thinking maybe we should make you wait 2 weeks to find out and just kill the broadcast or something like that. But no, we're not. We're going to tell you tonight because after everybody's hard work this season, you three and everyone else who's participated, you guys deserve to know who is next for Virtual Design Master. So before I announce our third place winner, I just want to say that I've seen everybody, I'm not a judge, but I've reviewed all your designs, and I've seen everybody grow as an architect in leaps and bounds. You've grown in your documentation skills. You've grown in your skills of we just mentioned before, showing your work. You've learned completely new technologies and implement them. It's just super impressive what you've accomplished in this short amount of time. So great job, everybody. Everybody deserves another round of applause, whoever was doing it. And so I'm happy to announce our third place winner, Virtual Design Master, Season 4, is Paul.
Hey!
Fantastic job, Paul.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've definitely earned something because we've tested you in areas where you were really uncomfortable, and you delivered. As Edward noted, I think the most important thing we've learned as well is knowing where you need to be. The question being asked, what would you do differently? It's continuously reassessing things. Everybody did a great job. I can tell you, having lived the actual design myself, I knew exactly what I needed to do, and it took me 4 days to do it, and I had no documentation. So I can tell you that the results that everybody did were incredible. I was surprised that we did see a little bit of open VPN goodness, but it's all good. But the truth is, everybody was in 3 distinct environments which were designed to make it challenging to put them together. So congratulations, Paul. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. And we're sorry to see that you couldn't, but you're on the podium. And again, congratulations and thank you to all of our supporters for putting together our prize pack. We'll notify you how to get all those goodies, and of course we'll publish everything on the website. And with that, we are down to the final 2. Now, Gareth, Katerina.
I feel like we should have someone come and sing a song or something like that, like on The Voice or American Idol or something.
That's the best I can do.
We've seen some really incredible work done. We've seen things that have never been done before. We've seen stuff that most of you were probably going to wish you don't have to do again. We saw our first production implementation of containers from Gareth this year. We saw a live implementation of NSX from Katerina. We've truly seen skills measured that are worthy of a virtual design master. We've seen honesty and openness about where you need to improve, and congratulations to you both for arriving here. Our judges would clearly agree that you've earned your places.
Hold on, Eric. Let's just pause for a moment just to drag this out a little bit. Hold on. Everybody just stretch. Just stretch with me. Yeah. Let's just stretch. Break. This is the what they call the 7th inning stretch. So, okay.
So first, we're not going to give it away just yet. Gareth, did you think at the start of this competition that you would be here right now?
No, not at all. And I'm really glad I was given the opportunity to do it. It's built my personal confidence on leaps and bounds to the fact I've even gone for an internal job interview today. So.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Cheers. It was challenging. I even managed to get an exam in the middle of all this, and it's really proved to me how far you can push yourself.
Excellent. Katerina, we saw you arrive, and we knew you and Gareth both faced some time zone challenges. How do you feel now, like the same way that you felt when you were here in your first defense in that first challenge?
Okay, so yeah, me as well. When I started this challenge, I thought I'm going to be out round 1. So getting here was amazing. I did so much during the past weeks that I did more than I did in months, and I grew so much. I work with technology I've never had time to do, and actually I'm starting to use it in my job, so that's fantastic. And I really enjoyed this experience, and the community here was amazing. So very good.
Excellent. We can say that the community that's behind us and that has helped everybody through getting to this point is a powerful part of what Virtual Design Master is about. And we would be nowhere without all the people that actually back us as friends, as sponsors and as helpers and peers through this. Yeah, I want to throw a special shout out to Rob Nelson. Rob was also very forward in making sure he reached out directly to folks to help out with Puppet. We've had other folks, I know Byron Schaller has talked about being able to help out some folks along the way. Previous virtual design masters, are here today. We have Timothy, who has also been very helpful, continuously throughout all the seasons, and that's why we're especially happy to have him here hosting with us today. And with that, it is time to present Virtual Design Master for Season 4. And with this, Gareth, I would like to congratulate you on almost making it. I know it's an unfortunate thing to say that you were so close, but with that, I would like to congratulate you on making second place as runner-up, which leaves us with Virtual Design Master for Season 4, Karina Wagnerova. Congratulations, Karina. Between the two of you, all the judges will tell you it was, between all of us, everybody here, it was challenging to be able to find differentiators. Everybody had, challenges, weaknesses, and strengths. And I know that, documentation-wise was a very strong piece that we saw consistently with you, Karina. Gareth, we saw you stretch yourself into new areas, and I'm especially proud of, being somebody who chases shiny objects myself on a regular basis. Taking Renee's advice, really narrowing your focus and delivering, I saw a marked change in the way that you delivered in the final challenge. So you both have earned a very powerful spot, and with that, so Gareth, congratulations. Second place is definitely a strong place to be. Paul, same thing. You are among a powerful group here today. Melissa, as somebody who's going through VCDX preparation and much more, what do you have to say to Karina on this one?
Oh, please go get your VCDX NV now. Please. Go become an NSX expert. Just watching you progress with it through the whole thing, that was amazing. It was amazing watching all the competitors, but you were prepared every week. You knew you were going to hit with those NSX questions, and you were really nailing them at the end. So that was fantastic.
That's great.
Thank you.
Angelo as another. So we get the lucky thing because we get to sit on the outside. We purposefully stay away from the judging because we want to be impartial to it. We're simply here as coordinators, But watching it happen, we do have our own thoughts. Angelo, what did you think along the way from our final three here?
Yeah, it was, Melissa said it, you said it. It was great to see everyone grow over time. But one thing, one key characteristic that stuck out for me from all the competitors, right from stage 1 to the finale, is that everyone listened to feedback that they received from the judges, and then sort of, let's say, recalibrated some of their thinking, and that's an important trait if you want to succeed in life and in your personal career. So it was great to see folks listening and being humble that way. So excellent. Excellent to see. It's a great community. And of course, one last thing from me is it doesn't end here. Be part of the broader community like you folks are already, but see who you can help lift up, reach out to, and help them in their careers. So great job, everyone.
And I'm going to ask quickly for the judges to have some final words to talk to say to Karina and also to the others. Timothy, as a Virtual Design Master winner from Season 2, and seeing your progression, and how did you see things as you watched it alongside?
Sure. So it was definitely a challenging season. Kudos to you, Karina. I mean, you did a bang-up job. Awesome all the way through, solid. But to all the competitors, seriously, welcome to the family. This isn't just some silly online reality show. This is a real thing. This is a real community. We all look out for each other. I mean, we're all great friends online. We try to hold each other up. I hope that tradition continues as time moves on. It's only going to get bigger and better. Hopefully someday you'll be able to help return the favor to someone that has been sitting in the hot seat now. I mean, it's really a great experience. Look at all the things you've learned. Now you get to sit back and reflect. Just don't stop. Keep moving forward is my advice.
Renee, you've been a strong part of our community, and I want to send a personal thanks, as all the judges would, to you for your guidance and your support throughout. And as a friend and as a peer, it's an honor to be with you, through a lot of these things. Renee, what do you have to offer for continued advice for our challengers here today?
Yeah, Eric, you got to stop. You're going to make me cry, mate. No, so great job, guys. Definitely seen you develop your skills. The next step would be looking at some of the elite certifications like VCDX, going for AWS certs like Timothy did, and look at how that's transformed him. He's now working at AWS as a TAM manager. Melissa is on her way to going for VCDX. Byron, he's just submitted, and Sean Massey, he's a past contestant. He just finished defending this week. So definitely this is a training ground. Now that you're through it, what you need to start doing is looking at the next evolution of what you want to do. And hopefully this is the ignition of the rocket burner, to launch off and go for it. So yeah, thank you for having me involved. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And Eric, if I could just quickly add double kudos to Renee. Renee, folks, never wavers on getting involved with VDM or just the community in general. So just want to highlight that and really thank him for his contributions to the community and just to everyone in general. Just great to be a friend of his.
All right, I'm reaching for the tissue box now.
Edward, you joined us for the first time this season, and it's been a true pleasure to have your expertise with us. Again, we as challengers and as participants and as judges and organizers, we've all learned a lot, and it's been really great to continue to to grow our community with you. Edward, what did you expect to get out of this for our competitors, and what do you have as advice to offer them?
I'm going to start. Thank you for having me. It's been quite an enjoyable time, and I actually have learned a lot myself. I did a lot of these challenges right alongside of you guys, so because I wanted to stretch what I was doing and understand what you were going through. The community is behind you. You can always ask us for help, even in your professional job or going forward with your VCDX or whatnot, or even any other certification you're going for. I've had a lot of help through the community. This is one way I can give back to it. And I think that that's something that everybody should consider as they go forward in their own career. The other thing to consider is that I was hoping you guys would at least get a little bit of a security mindset, because it's a big issue today, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And that's the scary part. And that's why people like I have a job to point that out to other people. It's like, where did you go wrong? But I would suggest, my suggestion for all of you is continue your studies. You started down a path on various automation tools, orchestration tools, various clouds, various technologies. Don't stop. Continue. And that's how we all do it. We just pick up a book, we read an article, we try a new prototype. We just play. And that's how we continue and learn our own skills, and that's how we continue to go and become better at what we do. And when we need help, we reach out and grab it. Constantly going out and getting help from the community. And that's a good thing.
Excellent.
And yeah. Edward, if I could, Eric, real quick, Edward was eager to get involved with Season 4 early on, and that was really something that the team really wanted to capitalize on. He has that security focus. We wanted to raise the security awareness this year in VDM. So we were excited that he wanted to help the community and participate. So thanks, Edward.
Oh, thank you.
And of course, as Melissa mentioned, our early supporter, longtime friend, Brian Kirsch. If you've been to a VMUG, you've probably met Brian, and if you haven't, you should do both. Go to a VMUG and find a way to find Brian. Brian, what's it been like to see this evolution of the entire community?
Thank you, Eric. It's been a pleasure. It's I believe in two things. I believe in the community, and I believe in education. And I think VDM takes the best out of both. It's such a strong community, and I think many of the competitors, even some of the folks we've lost, have said how much they learned in a very short amount of time. And all that does is start a fire. And they're going to be using this, as Timothy put it, throughout the next months or years, and it's going to help a lot of people take their next step in their careers. So it's a real honor to be a part of this. Thank you.
And real quick with Brian, if you ever go up against Brian, be prepared to answer the question: why blades? Why rack mount servers? Why? So just be ready for that question.
I'm always going to ask it.
It's always the fun one to watch, especially as we mentioned, use cases matter. Because he'll ask you, why didn't you use blades? And then he'll ask the next person, why did you use blades? Use cases matter. Melissa, you can definitely, you've watched a lot of stuff over the years, and as the designer of the original challenge and so much of what's gone into it, what's it feel like here in Season 4?
It's great. It's great to see how everybody's grown. It's great to see how I've grown. I started out as I was in my first year as a NetApp SE when I got involved, and now I'm a solutions architect at NetApp. So for me, personally and professionally, that was a big growth for me to get into that kind of architecture type role. It was something I had been striving towards, and this kind of gave me even more confidence going forward in pursuing it. And I watched that happen in you and Angelo and all our competitors too. This is just another way to give you that confidence to take the next step, whether it be for a new job, a new certification, learning a new technology. It's great to see how everybody's grown. Excellent.
Angelo, we had this crazy idea, and here we are. We're at Season 4. What's it feel like?
It's unbelievable. I'm so happy for everyone. All the friendships we've made. Look at all these folks that we pulled into VDM that we may not have normally connected with, that we're now friends with. That's what it's all about. And I hope along the way, through all the sleepless nights and stress, folks had a little bit of fun. But great to see.
Well, Karina, you've joined what we would describe as the pantheon of legends. You are a virtual design master. How's it feel?
It feels unbelievable and fantastic, and thank you very much for doing this challenge. It was really enjoyable. Thank you, the judges, for all the comments. I really can use them in my job. And thank you, Paul and Gareth. You were amazing, very supportive. You did a brilliant job. So thank you very much.
Everybody was a tight-knit final three. Gareth, thank you again to echo Karina's words. You've been very good at mentoring and coaching along the way for everybody. Paul, same. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this. So thank you, and perhaps we may see your faces in future events. There's no restrictions on coming back. We actually saw some return competitors this year, and the door is open, and most importantly, the community door is always open to everybody here, everybody online. Thank you again to everybody, to all of our judges, to our participants, to our sponsors, of course, VMUG, VM Turbo, for giving our grand prize sponsors, all of the community who've donated in various ways. Make sure you go to virtualdesignmaster.io. find the sponsors, support them. Send a shout out to those folks online. If you get a chance to see people in person at an event, make sure you give a thanks, and congratulations to everybody. And with that,
and Eric, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Many of the folks will be at VMworld, so don't be shy. If through the crowd, if you see one of us or we see you, like, don't be shy. Come up and say hi. We'll be looking forward to it. So sorry.
Yeah, Virtual Design Master, of course. We will have some folks in Las Vegas. We're coming up in a few weeks, and then not too long after, I'm sure we'll have some folks who will have a presence at VMworld in the EU. Hopefully everybody will get a chance to connect somehow at an event in the future. I'm lucky enough I'll be at the AWS reInvent. As Timothy, I know you'll be there as well. So
yes, sir.
We've seen an evolution in the designs presented. We thought that Timothy was in trouble on his first design when he presented an almost all AWS challenger. We said there's no way that this is going to go through, and Timothy proved himself as a powerful VMware designer and architect, and then as a result of taking those skills, now of course you've brought them into your work, and congratulations on that shift and that that.
Sure. Hey, Eric, along those lines though, I mean, I would say that there's more to being a virtual design master or an architect or insert X here. It's a mindset. It's not a technology. You cannot paint yourself into a corner. Broaden your horizons. You'll be surprised what you can do. Chase down those dreams.
There you go. And we also want to thank, of course, even for the folks that are the unsung heroes of our sponsors that have been previous supporters. Bare Metal Cloud have been longtime supporters with us, and we use them for our hosting infrastructure for the grand finale. So thank you to JP and the team for that. And DigitalOcean, we haven't locked in as a sponsor yet, but I tell you, I'm a big fan. Lots of folks in the community are. So thank you to that, and AWS. They did quarterly earnings. They don't need congratulations. But I tell you, if there's anything that tells you that where things are going, we've seen a lot of technologies brought forward today. And with that, Melissa, Angelo, all the judges, I, of course, am Eric Wright. You can find me online. I'm at Disco Posse, and you can follow us. We are Virtual Design Master. And with that, we sign off for Season 4. We'll see you all again next year.